Round 3 of the ChampCar iRacing series in 2024, and the continuing roster of tracks and vehicles brings us to the Renault Clio Cup car at Laguna Seca. Not a circuit that is on the ChampCar Endurance Series this year, but nonetheless a very, very popular and very well-known racing circuit. Now, drivers are competing for some great prizes that could get them on track in the ChampCar Endurance Series, as well as just enjoying the great racing, the camaraderie, and the connections that you can make on iRacing with all of these laser-scanned and representative tracks. It's some of the best sim racing you can do, and it's prepared many, many drivers for the real-world racing they've gone on to do. We're bringing you live coverage of it here from HJBC. David Haynes with Devin Peters and Michael Derby as our production. It's qualifying underway right now before a 60-minute race. This is a new car for 2024, Devin.
Yeah, and it looks like the front-wheel drive squad is out in force. We've got some names we haven't seen a ton of up at the front. Today we've got Cameron Martineau and Tim Wire, James O'Brien, all set in fast ones. But as usual, we're also seeing Colin Lounsbury up near the front. He's currently sitting in second place. 2 races, 2 wins for him. He'll be looking to make it 3 in a row tonight.
2 of 12 championship races for the year completed. Paul Darling leads the way in the championship, but is nowhere to be seen here at Monterey, California. Fair bit of brake dust up in the air, and you see some of the ChampCar teams that love to race with us here on iRacing, like Drivetrainer Motorsports here, sandwiching Colin Lounsbury, who pulls out of the way. With just a few minutes left on this session, Cameron Martineau, though, remains top of the table.
Yeah, Martineau's looking quick in that Kurt Busch-inspired livery, I'd say. 36.5 in qualifying here. Puts him nearly the fastest lap we've seen all day. We saw one quicker in the practice session. And he really seems to have mastered the art of getting this little Clio around, which, as we see from the driver ahead of him, that's J.R. Cabrera running wide. It's a tricky thing to do.
I think Ian Giebler has a bit of a handle on it at the moment, seeing he's on for a decent lap, potentially a little toe assisted. He's up behind Tim Wire here as well as they come over the crest and into the most famous, most memorable, most photogenic piece of this racetrack, the corkscrew, where you immediately drop away multiple stories down the hill and back around towards the start-finish straight. It looks like it's still going well for Ian Giebler, but he reached the maximum of how far a draft toe was going to take him up behind Tim Wire.
Yeah, this will be a quick one. Let's see what he does across the line. He's going to carry that draft all the way up. These cars are pretty momentum-y. And he puts in a quick one after all. 36.8 is what I'm seeing, which gives him 4th place outright. 3rd place even. And yeah, these cars are pretty momentum based, and even though they're shaped like a bean, the draft doesn't make a huge difference. It definitely has an effect, but it's not as overpowering as we see in some of the other cars we got in the series. Of course, the ChampCar iRacing series features 4 different makes. We've got the GR86, the Miata, the Clio, and the Ford Mustang 500S. And scratch that, it's 5 makes, because we also have the GT4 class making its debut this season, along with the Clios. So whoever wins the ChampCar iRacing series this season is going to be a master of many different disciplines, I gotta think.
And there's more ways than just outright winning the championship with the most points to get great prizes and be closer to getting on track in the ChampCar Endurance Series, including some prizes, money that's going to be given to winners in the endurance rounds of the championship. Forum.champcar.org's got all the information about the schedule, but also from the spring, the summer, and the fall races of this season, there will be a driver from each drawn who will get a nice little prize, get them closer to being on track in the coming year with ChampCar Endurance Series. So are we seeing from the qualifying at the moment. Conditions, I think, just reaching the top of their temperatures before it will begin to cool off a little later on, but still Martineau on top with a couple of tenths from Lounsbury, Giebler, Tim Wire, James O'Brien. Otis Adams, Johnny Sartorelli, they're on the pit lane, not on track. Christian Peeler is on track. Sean Sirota and Simon Fower, the other drivers completing the top 10, are not on track right now as the checkered flag waves.
Yeah, we're seeing the last few drivers pushing away. This is the 17 car that we're following along with, I believe. Seven car, my apologies. That's Christian Peeler. He's blending in some quick laps, joining the series for his first race tonight. And we'll see if he's able to top that 37.2 that he's got in.
Colin Lounsbury just topped Cameron Martineau for the pole by 100th of a second. Lounsbury was the car just ahead on the road, and he's taken the pole away.
Ooh, nicely done.
There we go. How about a little bit of late excitement? Will Nonamaker there in 20th. There is 32 drivers with qualifying times. Here's all your Drive Trainer Motorsports in red, in yellow, in white, taking the checkered flag. And Barney, I tell you what, no way is he going to be on the advisory board of the Saudi Arabian Motorsport Federation, because he actually knows how to wave a flag. I'm still bitter from like a week ago, man.
I could tell.
Diehard pinhead. Here's Martineau's last attempt to try to wrestle pole position back. Needs 100th of a second, and he doesn't get it. He falls 1/10 short. He needed a 36.586, and he got a 36.706. It was mighty, mighty close, but it brings an end to qualifying and brings them all with their focus on towards the race start. They're all going to need to use the pit lane during this 1 hour race coming up, and they're going to need to use it maybe more than once. It's a challenging pit entry, challenging pit exit, and of course it's a car that we've seen races very close, but passing can be a little challenging. So it should be entertaining viewing. And thank you so much for joining us. If you've got a particular friend, teammate, arch rival, racing buddy you want to keep up with, hjbc.live has live timing right now. You can keep across all of the strategy, all of the driver positions from all 30 plus drivers in the field tonight. As they begin to grid up now, we should be able to bring you the starting order for round 3, which is Colin Lounsbury on the pole from Cameron Martineau. Look at the difference there, 100th of a second. Then there's Ian Giebler and Tim Wire, who are working together in qualifying, and they're 3rd and 4th on the second row. Got James O'Brien and Otis Adams Jr. on the next row. Johnny Sartorelli and Christian Peeler behind that. And then John Sirota and Miles Brown are 9th and 10th. Simon Fower got shuffled back to 11th, ahead of Andrew Kosick, Alex Albert, Kyle Robertson, Bowie Sewin, Brian Tidd, Logan Sennhauser, Mark Kruger, John Nicholford, and Will Nonamaker. And then still qualifying times for the rest of the field after that. Davis Trask, Orlando Harrell, Steve Hermitz, Brandon West, Scott Grinnell, Andrew Gaeta, Aaron Reed, David Palermo, JR Cabrera, Alan Wells in 30th. I think there was 2 other drivers with qualifying times. There was Stephen Schaefer and Bill Salen, Nick Fogelman and Tim Trahan without one.
Great big old turnout for the Sprint Series, and we've been fortunate to have them so far this season. Lots of drivers interested in the prize, the grand prize of $2,000, and even the $250 prize that you get entered into just for showing up for the first 4 rounds consecutively, second 4 rounds, third 4 rounds, all of those. And as we sit on the pit lane, you can hear both the surprisingly throaty rumble of these Clios at idle, and also the whistle of the blow-off valves on these turboed 4-cylinder motors. I believe they're 4 cylinders in these things, right?
There is a 3-cylinder version, though. This is the 1.3 litre, and the 3 cylinders are 1 litre. Not only did the Clio not make it to the American market, you can all rest safely knowing that their 3-cylinder engine didn't make it to the American market either.
Phew.
If you want to buy a 3-cylinder hatchback, I think you can still get a Mitsubishi Mirage.
I'm sure some of those will find their way onto a racetrack somewhere eventually.
So we're getting another look around the circuit. It's a relatively short lap. 1 hour will get us plenty of laps completed. 4:22 or so in the afternoon, so shadow's getting longer, potentially getting a little cloudier as we go as well.
For those of you hoping for a spot of rain from these clouds, unfortunately these cars aren't quite ready for that yet, but we'll hope to see some rain later in the season. And it really is an intimidating sight when you see this many cars coming up the hill.
And then the corkscrew, of course. Best spectator spot, most challenging corner, most feared corner, and definitely most photographed corner. Maybe from that angle right there. Yeah, I could watch that for a while. Pace car driver is wowing them up a little bit. Hello. And then he'll head to the pit entry, and it is Colin Lounsbury in the orange machine who'll have the inside line and the pole position from Cameron Martineau. Yeah, his best tribute to coated crunchy chocolate candy on the outside of the front row. Some great long-running competitors and title rivals in the pack behind. I think we're going here. Colin Lounsbury's leaving nothing a chance through that sharp final corner. He goes pedal to the metal and sends us racing for 1 hour at Laguna Seca in the ChampCar iRacing Series for 2024 Round 3. Cold tyres for all as they head downhill into the Andretti hairpin. You will see plenty of little lockups from these machines as the inside tyre gets light on the turn-in. That is not bad at all so far up front.
Yeah, a little lockup in the back from Brian Teed as he went out wide on the exit of turn number 1. Brandon West found himself deep out in the dirt, as well as Mark Kruger, who loses the first body panel of the race as he gets offline, but battles continue on throughout the field.
So pretty even off the front row here. Not too many big changes except for Miles Brown taking a couple. One of the best qualified cars from Drivetrainer Motorsports. So there he is with the yellow stripe, and he's gained 2 spots so far, and now ranging up on the back of Otis Adams and Johnny Sartorelli. This is one of the deceptively challenging corners of this circuit here, is that left-hander. It's so sharp, you've got to flow so much speed, but the apex is blind and that big red sausage curve until you're all over the top of it, and then it leads you up the hill here towards the braking zone, also blind over the crest and down into the corkscrew at racing speed for the first time.
Alex Albert's busy trying to make it too wide with the likes of Otis Adams on the outside and Christian Peeler up the inside. They're still too wide coming down onto the back corners here. Oof, and it was tight through there, through turn number 10.
Not quite a hairpin, but it feels like a hairpin. It's a very sharp corner here, the final corner. And the moves are going on. Great opening lap from Colin Lounsbury, and no change at all in the top 5, but it's all shuffled behind that. Miles Brown's up 3, Simon Foweather's up 3, Mark Kruger had some dramas or didn't start.
Yeah, he hit the wall in the first lap, lost a little bit, and towed it in. And of course, we're seeing that classic front-wheel drive smoke. These things so stiff throughout in the chassis, in the setup, that really easy to lift that inside tire as you're going into the corner. So just getting some of that. We're watching a battle here between Davis Trask. It looks like he's got Kyle Robertson and Andrew Cossack. Kyle Robertson looking up the inside of Andrew Cossack. Actually, he makes a clean move through 7. Or 5 rather, as they go up the hill towards 6. And it's going to be a push for Cossack up the inside, and it's really critical to hold the inside here. It's hard to do it too wide. They managed to make it, but it costs them all a lot of time. And Kyle Robertson slams the door shut on Davis Trask. Deep in the field, we got another couple of guys battling. That looks like Steven Schaefer and J.R. Cabrera trying to do the two-wide thing up the hill as well. We'll see as things sort out and they're heading into the corkscrew. Always safer to do this part of the track one wide. We're seeing why. It's hard to nail the line when you can't see the track in front of you.
Oh, someone's been well off there. Andy Kosick gets past them. So this is all behind... Kyle Robertson, Davis Trask. So looks to be Otis Adams who's been off.
Yeah, Robertson, he's leading them through the back part of the lap here, and he runs a little bit wide on the exit. And we just get a glimpse in the background of the shot there of the yellow car that was awful. And I think you're right, that was Otis Adams. Rejoined safely though now, and he's actually back and putting pressure on the likes of Andy Kosick. Meanwhile, at the front, we're seeing the battle between Cameron Martineau and Colin Lounsbury. They showed themselves the class of the field in qualifying, and they're continuing to put on a little display here. Nearly 10 car lengths back to Ian Giebler, just over 2 seconds.
So just a little bit of field spread, but other than that, quite close, particularly up front. Some of these other little battles here. Giebler and Wire worked together in qualifying, working together in the race, trying to get away from James O'Brien in 5th. He's got some hard charges behind him in the shape of Brown and Foweather, who've both gained spots. Foweather's got the right livery on because it is Michelin slick tyres on these Clio Cup cars.
Okay, prepared. Move up the inside. And we're just spotting it here. Yeah, that's Johnny Sartorelli on the outside, holding off Miles Brown, who's continuing his aggressive streak here. Up 3 spots from the start of the race and looking to make it 4. We'll see if he's able to put some pressure on turn number 1 on Johnny Sartorelli here. Sartorelli leaves the braking reel late, gets it locked up a little bit, but manages to hold the line and hold the spot.
I was told Laguna Seca was Spanish for dry lake, but there's definitely some water in that one there.
Yeah, it's said to have some of the best views in racing.
No one's accusing them of having the best neighbours, though.
Yeah, I think you got that one.
Sorry, you and I should be whispering so we don't upset them.
Yeah, you're right.
If only there were like other desert hills with golf courses, other places in the US you could live that aren't like next to here.
Actually, about all
I didn't know there was a Sandy Hills like desert shortage, but here we are.
Following along still with that battle between Sartorelli and Miles Brown. Brown's really putting on the pressure. Last time by, he made a move going into the final corner. We'll see if he does it again. He does. Sticks it up the inside, and this time holds it at the apex. And I think he might even get the run here. We'll see. Oh, they're making contact. And they separate it.
There's a couple little hellos happening through the fields. Simon Foe at the back there as well. He's lost a spot or two. Alex Albert, Shinserada have gone through. Kyle Robertson's in behind them, so action everywhere you look right now.
Yeah, we got, looks like John Serrata's going to get up the inside of Alex Albert, who ran it a little wide under brakes. We're seeing him come back, though, going into 3, and he's going to hold it. Oh, it's really tough to do. And those matching liveries between Foweather and Serrata makes me think that they're working together a little bit. They're definitely putting pressure on Alex Albert here.
I think it's coincidence that one of them's yellow and blue and the other one's yellow and blue, and also Alex Albert is yellow and blue, and we're going to head 3 wide. Foweather down the inside, and then a little bit of contact to Alex Albert, who was 3 wide on the outside. Kyle Robertson gets his nose chopped off as well.
And Alex Albert knows the secret to saving a spinning front-wheel drive car. He just slammed the gas and got it out of there.
If in doubt, flat out. This is, once again, Johnny Sartorelli with Miles Brown, who is all over his rear bumper here through this section of the course where it's tough to pass. You're looking for the big braking zones, like into the final corner, like down into the Andretti hairpin, like into the corkscrew if you're very, very, very brave, and potentially a little bit mind poisoned by watching too many highlights from ChampCar in the 90s.
Absolutely. Miles Brown actually had the position on the exit of turn number 1 last time by, but lost the spot to Sartorelli going into 5. And the two of them carry on. They're driving past the likes of Will Nonamaker's coming out of the pits. Actually, I think that's Wayne. Either way, the two of them are carrying on, doing some lapping. No, that's Will. You're right.
Oh, we changed it so you wouldn't get confused.
Just for you, my friend. Lots of battles continuing, but out at the front, it's still Colin Lounsbury and Cameron Martineau that are increasing their gap every single lap. It's now up to 3.5 seconds back to Ian Giebler in 3rd and Tim Wire in 4th. And luckily for us, these two seem to have a little bit of something for each other. It's a long race today, another 50 laps to go, or 50 minutes to go rather, and we'll see if maybe the fuel consumption becomes a question as we get deeper into this stint.
That will be the next big question mark once some of these battles start to settle out a little bit, if indeed they ever will. I'm not convinced on that one. Giebler has pulled away. Tim Wire has dropped back. James O'Brien's up into 4th. So Wire has had a mistake somewhere, dropped away from Giebler, dropped back.
Yeah, just looking into it, it looks like Giebler Wire actually picked up a slowdown on the exit of turn number, the last turn, 10, I guess, and yeah, because of that slowdown, he had to give up some time on the front straightaway, which led James O'Brien by. I think James O'Brien caught Tim Wire out a little bit that time too with his braking spot, and now Tim Wire is joining our battle between Sartorelli and Brown.
He's next under the pump in this group here. Christian Peeler also catching them as one of the quickest cars on track last lap, although that honour truly belongs to Cameron Martineau, who I think also has the fastest lap of the race full stop with the 1:36.215. So it heats up a little bit around here. Sartorelli previously absorbing an incredible amount of pressure from Miles Brown. He's now looking at Tim Wire, who's got the Salins logo on the nose and on the sides, but not on the back. And Mark Kruger was just off.
Kruger just had a little miss in the braking zone there. He's found his way back to the pits again. I think he's done for the day. That car wasn't handling so good for him. And our battle between Sartorelli and Brown carries on, but Tim Wire looks like he's got the pace to get away from the two of them. Easy enough when you got a little bit in hand. You see Wire just able to do it a little bit better, dragging that front tire. And now we're watching the battle between Simon Foweather. That looks like we're riding on board with Otis Adams, actually.
Yeah, for a moment, he was the only driver without a personal best lap time because he had been off track on every single one of them. One was a little more adventurous than the other. Maybe he picked up a slowdown or two. So he qualified well. But now he's back in this fight, and we'll see exactly how he goes about some of these passes. He's got a lot of speed, but I just don't think this is a car that makes it that easy to pass. And behind Bowie Sue and Alex Albert, Simon Foweather around here.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the way the rules are written, these things get a rear brake valve rather than a biaser, and so you can't quite get as much rear brake as I think you'd like to have in them to get them really kind of backing into the corners.
I'm going to head down to AutoZone and ask for a biaser. See if that's the technical name of a proportioning valve, adjustable proportioning valve.
The biaser, if I understand correctly, a biaser will change. Ooh, speaking of, a little bit of contact on the biaser there. Otis Adams just gave Bowie Soon a bit of a punt off camera, but they're keeping things busy. But if I understand correctly, a biaser will let you decide, it will split the brake pressure front and rear, whereas the valve will keep the same pressure on the front, but allow you to decide how much goes to the rear without changing how much is going to the front. I'm not fancy enough to have one of those either way.
This is the gap for the race lead, and it's just 0.3 of a second, both of them near identical pace a lap ago, between Colin Lounsbury, who's leading and has led from pole position, and Cameron Martineau, who started alongside him on the front row of the grid. There was only 100th of a second between them in qualifying, and Colin Lounsbury pipped it very late in the session. Spread out a little bit more over the top of the hill, and there is some big elevation change around here as well. Not as much as there is around Mount Panorama Bathurst, but still quite a lot.
Yeah, 5.5 stories, about 80 feet down the corkscrew, and plenty of change all the way through the rest of it. Ooh, and using all the exit there is Colin Lounsbury, and I think he might pay for that one. He might look like he's weaving, but I actually wonder if he's trying to get to the inside so he can give back a slowdown.
I think what we've actually seen a couple of times is people get a slowdown at the corkscrew. They think, oh, I can just ease off a little bit and give this up. They get to the start-finish line. It hasn't gone away. And they're going, I need to get rid of this before the next braking zone. I've seen that happen a little bit. They're pretty strong on it, cutting the course at the corkscrew. So got spicy, got close between the leaders once again. The pace has dropped a couple of tenths away from fastest lap of the race stuff, and they're moving now 4 seconds ahead of Ian Giebler back there in third.
Yeah, so far, it must be said, we're pretty early, but despite the fact that there's a lot of smoking tires going into the corners, big amount of sausage curb there for Martineau. These tires seem to be handling themselves pretty well. Not seeing a ton of evidence of overheating.
I'm seeing a little bit of evidence of some very localized overheating. I'll be real with you.
Nice thing about iRacing is they don't model the flat spots very well yet, so or at all, I think. So you can get away with stuff like that.
Get away in inverted commas, because it does put a lot of heat into the tires. Lead gap once again, getting a little interesting.
Yeah, Martineau had a little look. I think it was an inadvertent look under brakes. He just carried a bit more speed through the apex and then kind of punted Lounsbury. These two are really putting on a front-wheel drive show. Now, Martineau says that his favorite car is the GR86, but he's doing a pretty good job with the Clios here today.
Is his spirit animal the green M&M?
I'm gonna have to go with yes. I'm hearing from our producer that the green M&M's name is Boots. So that makes sense.
There's a different story there that I think you're unaware of, Devin. Maybe some other time. 0.4 of a second still between them. Giebler caught a little on the last lap, a bit over a second actually, the way that they went back and forth. So he's still in the picture. This doesn't seem like a car where we're going to get massive gaps all through the field, because when someone's quicker, they're half a second quicker. They're not 2 seconds quicker. And then you go back to James O'Brien, Tim Wire, Johnny Sartorelli and Christian Peel are both having some unique lines into the corkscrew, getting in pretty hot there. Let's Miles Brown get close. And then Kyle Robertson and Gene Sirota complete the top 10 at the moment. Okay. Colin Lounsbury hits the pit lane. Cameron Martineau carries on. What else are we going to see at pit entry this time around?
Ooh.
We're going to see Ian Giebler make a mess of it. He's got a damaged car from third place.
Yeah, Ian Giebler got that all kinds of wrong. We're going to see it here. He's hitting the brakes, touches the dirt, and just sticks it in the wall.
You are not Alexander Rossi, my friend. And that is not a Honda Civic. So that's going to cost him a lot of time, as evidenced by the fact he's behind Sartorelli and Tim Wire.
That hurts. Now, luckily for him, we've got a fast repair in this series, so he's going to get a fresh car and drive away. But, yeah, definitely not how you're supposed to do that pit entry.
So I'm seeing a lot of front tires, to be real with you. Sartorelli's better at dropping the clutch, and he's going to beat out Wire and Giebler to the challenging pit exit road. Now, we've just seen pit entry be a challenge, but it's one lane wide, dirt either side, with potentially cold tires heading down here as well out of the pit lane. Also seeing Simon Foweather go through. So about a 50-50 split, half the field in, half the field not. Alex Albert went through, but James O'Brien, Christian Peeler, Miles Brown, Carl Roberts, and Gene Serrata, they all stayed out for another lap, just like Cameron Martineau, who leads this race for the first time now.
Yeah, and Martineau able to make that extra lap work. Wonder how much fuel he was saving while he was staying behind. He'll take the pit lane this time. Let's see if he does a better job of it than Giebler. Real careful to stay off the dirt on the inside, and well executed, I'd say. And then we're also going to see James O'Brien hitting the lane. He was running, I believe, 5th or 6th place, depending on how it all shook out, as he comes into the pit lane this time. Quieter pit lane for these guys. Right behind him, Christian Peeler, and another drive trainer car. That's Miles Brown coming in.
I think we're getting just about everyone else now. Short-ish pit lane. It's 35 miles an hour from that yellow cone to the green cone, as you then run alongside the racetrack on the pit exit lane, where Cameron Martineau is there, getting up to speed, heading uphill. And then
across the line. So Martineau will have the advantage of the inside line on the pit lane, but he might have some traffic to contend with on the exit. We'll see. Lounsbury's locking it up, sliding through the first turn. And he'll lose out. That's Martineau taking the lead.
Martineau's in-lap might have been something to behold. Also, I think his lane time was somehow slightly shorter. I think there's a little trick with getting these cars out of the pit box as well. Some seem to really bog down, struggle to get going in first gear up to 35 miles an hour, where some others seem to maybe get a little bit of wheel spin and get going a lot quicker. It's a racing sequential box in these as well, I think.
A little tricky.
It's a bit of traffic at the moment for Martineau. Lounsbury in orange. The second car back is his main rival. Oh, he's got to look out through the corkscrew.
Oof. That's Andrew Guada. Or Guada? Too many syllable consonants in a row, but he got it a little bit loose at the top of the hill and spun that thing all the way around. He manages to avoid any contact and get away safely.
Comes Sartorelli and Brown. They've both been through the pit lane. They've been through a lap apart, but they are inseparable in battle today at Laguna Seca. Sartorelli just ahead of Brown at the moment. There's one driver who hasn't stopped yet. Orlando Herrell is heading to pit entry. 1 lap longer than your race leader, 2 laps longer than some of the others.
Can I just put it out there? If you've got a car that'll do an hour and 50 minutes on fuel, please put Orlando Herrell in it, because he'll make it do 2 hours.
He had a little dent that you see just got popped out there, so he's used his fast repair. Maybe you'd want to save it in your back pocket if you only had a tiny little bit of damage. Save it for a much rainier day.
Tim Wire up the inside of Otis Adams here into turn number 1, and Otis gets
full California spec into the hairpin there.
Yeah, he's hanging 10, I'd say, on the outside of that one.
So allegedly California knows how to party. No verification on that, but I've heard it rumoured. This is Lounsbury in second place, getting within 1 second of the race leader, Cameron Martineau, keeping the fight alive after Martineau's prowess with saving fuel, going a lap longer, quick in-lap, quick pit stop, and now a race
Ooh.
leader, but again by a slim margin. He's by a slim margin cut the corkscrew, and he's no longer race leader. It's Colin Lounsbury back out front.
Oh, that's heartbreak if you're Martineau. I saw him run a little bit wide, and it was all 4 tires off, and that's what it takes to get a penalty here. And so what was a 2-second lead last time by is now 1 second in the opposite direction this time by.
He's still got it. Look at the tap of the brake paddle there. It's very difficult to clear that slowdown if you don't get on top of it quickly. And now it sees Colin Lounsbury from 1 second behind the race lead to way out in front. Super costly mistake from Martineau, who I think was pushing to try to stay ahead of the draft range, but he pushed a little too hard, had a bit of a wobble, had to counter steer into it at the corkscrew, and that saw him just end up all 4 tires wrong side of the white line.
Yeah, really easy to do around here, no matter the car. Checking back in on Miles Brown and Johnny Sartorelli. It's Johnny Sartorelli and now Christian Peeler we're following. He's running around the outside of some lap traffic. That's Jared Cabrera on his outside. And Peeler's actually chasing down Andrew Kosick, who's traded in his usual blue mint for a purple mint on the Clio here. Kosick's having a decent race for himself.
I don't think he is, because he's been through the pit lane twice and he's a lap down to...
I thought he was running in 5th or in 3rd, but no, that's 26th.
Go on, you keep saying nice things about him, though. He'll prefer that.
He's got a real nice looking car usually. You know what it was? He changed the color. You got to go back to the blue.
I disagree. I only want to see him dancing in the purple rain.
That's suitable for California. He does a good job staying out of the way. Gets well and truly offline for Christian Peeler as he comes through. And Peeler's got a sight set forward, giving us a battle for the back of the top, or the last step of the podium, is Peeler as he tries to chase down O'Brien, who's up ahead in a similarly colored car.
So this is 3rd and 4th that you spot here. So O'Brien up in a 3rd place.
We need to get some of those IMSA number plates out here for all the lap traffic these guys are going through. I'm having a hard time keeping track of which ones are on the lead lap and which ones aren't.
I think I spend 3/4 of my time looking at the timing screen. And then I think that's how I do it. Some other drivers that have gained pretty well through the first round of pit stops, Miles Brown and Kyle Robertson. So I think the Drivetrainer Motorsports guys have really banged their heads together about how to do that, and they've gained some spots. There's Giebler 7th ahead of Robertson in 8th.
One of the biggest gainers of the race so far is actually Davis Trask, who's down in 14th place, but up 7 spots since the start. He's holding off the likes of Bowie Suin behind. The two of them were pretty close at the start of this lap, and it looks like Bowie Suin's going to try and make his way back up onto the rear bumper. Oh, and behind them, we heard it on the speakers there, John Nicholford is running just behind them. He got 2 tires, maybe even 3 off the track on the exit. Either way, Suin's still trying to find his way up to Trask, and it looks like Trask might just have enough to get away from it. Going back just a little bit, we've got Aaron Reed, who's another big gainer on the race. He's got no company right now, but he's up 10 spots since the start, 27th all the way up to 17th. So quality race from him, and his Club Ohio rep is growing.
Now I'm seeing plenty of car paints that have been taken from the front page of most popular on Trading Paints. I do believe that's the Martineau Reed connection. That's why you've got some various decades of Renault Sport liveries going on likewise.
Hey, you got to get a little deeper into the archives if you want to be original on Trading Paints.
Yeah.
Ooh, and we're seeing a little battle here between that's Alex Albert on that's a lapped car, ahead of him, Andrew. And Albert's going to be trying to find his way around. Albert's currently running in 12th place with a pretty solid gap to other cars ahead, about 5 seconds between him and Otis Adams as he cleanly executes that move up the inside of the corkscrew.
Yeah, you can see his next spot for position. It's pretty hectic around here with Peeler, Sartorelli, Miles Brown, one-lapped car in between. Brown once again all over Sartorelli. Christian Peeler got one car ahead. So now Sartorelli will get down the inside there. Brown locks up, and he locks up the fronts, and he runs on so deep. One of the things I keep hearing is that if you lock up one of the front tires, you need to get so far out of the brake before you can get back on the pressure to unlock the front tires. Once they're locked, so difficult to get them rotating again.
Yeah, Ian Giebler's going to clear through that as well, getting a spot away from from Kyle Robertson in the midst of that melee as a result of Will Nonamaker rejoining. Yeah, it's still busy out there, even though the gaps are starting to grow.
There's one gap that isn't growing, and it's the gap for the lead right now between Colin Lounsbury and Cameron Martineau. Back down under 1.6 seconds here. Martineau's been just chipping a couple tenths away from Colin Lounsbury's lead. And I think on this lap, they're going to cross the start-finish line, and we're going to see an even bigger little advantage, if that's even a comparison to be made. Martineau just working his way back towards the race lead, but they're now 14 seconds clear of third place. A lot of that based on Ian Giebler's pit entry.
Yeah, shame for Giebler, but the two of them have been keeping each other honest out here at the front, that's for sure. They've honestly been running some real quick laps. Last time by, Martineau ran a 36.5, which...
No draft either.
Yeah, 36.562, no draft, and that would have been good for pole in qualifying. Oh, and they're 3 wide deeper in the field.
This is where Ian Giebler is. This is where Gene Sirota is, and this is Ian Giebler getting past Simon Foweather, I think. His drive back through the field. So you've got Sirota, Giebler, Foweather, all for position here. On board now with Giebler hunting down Sirota. Fast right-hander here. Without a big braking zone, I think it's tough to get this front-wheel drive car to turn into a fast corner like that. The braking zones here into the slower corners, when you're on the brake, the weight shifts forward, the thing gets very loose, it wants to turn in. But the really quick corners, it's more of an art to finesse the front axle to turn in, like here as well. And to do it precisely.
I've got some intel for you. John Sirota, who's running that yellow and blue car ahead, is known to run a 2009 Honda Civic SI in real-world competition. Ooh, and they're coming past a lapper coming back on the track. But yeah, I got to think that's got to give you some transferable skills when you get into the Clio.
Yeah, if you've got the Civic set up just as pointy, for sure, that's what it is.
See Otis take a little excursion there in the background of the shot. He's still pushing away, running 11th place right now. And they're 2 wide coming down the front straight. That's Simon Foweather up the inside of Giebler.
Gee, I wonder how many revs Giebler's giving it before he shifts. He did seem to lose out a bit there. He's missing something.
Yeah, very precise power band on these cars.
6,000. Oh yeah, okay.
You got to get it exactly right. If you're not careful, you'll lose some tenths on the straight line.
The power peaks at about 5,400 RPM, so a lot of drivers shifting shorter than that, avoiding the red lights in the dash. The green ones are okay, the orange ones are good. The red is, you're not getting any extra power, you're just choking it a little bit. So for Giebler, I think that's going to make passing tough, even if his technique and his corner speed's been very strong.
Hey, you gotta know your way around your whole vehicle. That's part of winning the series here. Tim Wire and Alex Albert are getting close together. Wire gets a little bit loose up at the top of the hill.
A little more than a little bit, but I think Cameron Martineau's got some problems. 5 seconds away from the race lead now. I think he's picked up another slowdown penalty on this lap just gone, or the one before.
You know, he disappeared for a moment off my screen as he was going through the corkscrew, and I think it might have happened while he was there. You'll see him come up the hill here and then just disappear. And that will potentially negatively impact you depending on what happened while you went to the shadow row.
And then he came back 5 seconds behind the race lead. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a distraction and then maybe he had a mistake at the corkscrew. Well, we couldn't see him and he couldn't see us. And that has hurt Cameron Martineau's chances of charging back at Colin Lounsbury. John Sirota, Simon Fower, Ian Giebler, Otis Adams Jr. Rally crossing it again, blending in. He's got that desert camo.
Yeah, Lounsbury, he's had a pretty decent run of finishes so far. We'll get back to that as we watch this battle here. We're watching along from point of view of Otis and now Giebler as he follows along behind the two cars ahead, Simon Fowa there, John Sirota. And Sirota's under a lot of pressure right now from Fowa there.
That's a bit too much curb there.
Oh,
Sending Alex Albert a little bit wide. He's now back in 12th here with Tim Wire in 13th.
Another big moment for Cameron Martineau going into turn number 1. He found himself deep in the gravel as he got the braking a little bit wrong. Had some of that lockup we heard about, and that'll have cost him another few seconds. I'd say he's about 8 seconds back of the leader now. Lounsbury having to navigate some traffic, but if he just keeps things consistent and smooth, it's going to be hard for Lounsbury to make up, or sorry, Martineau to make up all the ground. Oh, a little bit of a punt there for Nick Fogelman, a lapper who he's going by.
So Brian and Peeler. Last lap was 0.3 quicker from Peeler. He's right up behind O'Brien right now into the corkscrew. Less traffic yet for these guys than your race leader has been encountering, but it probably means you're only 3-4 laps away from that being your fate as well in these positions. Headlight flash is a bit underwhelming in this car. This is now Sirota and Fowa, the side-by-side. Giebler and Adams behind and running it out a little bit wide there. Fowa is going to lose out, shot back across onto the racing line. Advantage Gene Sirota, at least for a corner or two.
Otis Adams diving into the pit lane in the back of the shot. We'll keep with the battle though.
Yep, he's in for the second time, having completed 13 laps.
Could theoretically be a scheduled stop. I'm not sure exactly how big the fuel tanks are on here. Big lockup from Sirota that time.
I think he'll make it to the end from there.
And now the next car ahead is actually for position. That's Miles Brown. After his sort of eventful second stint here, he's found himself far enough back that he's all four tires off and feeling the pressure from Sirota, I got to think.
Yep, here it comes. Sirota's in, and Fowa is going to try to follow this as well. Kind of a 3 wide up the hill. Fowa is thinking 2 for 1. And he's going to get it, but Miles Brown's trying to keep enough overlap here. Giebler sees that happening. He's off the road as well.
Yeah, Giebler tried to save the car and Soroda and Miles Brown did a pretty good job of keeping the things pointed the right way after getting them backwards on the entry. Whew. Oh, and Colin Lounsbury. Oh no, he's just had the regular amount of lockup going into turn number 1. Just saw a big puff of smoke. Oh, and that's Albert. Oh, and Kruger, looks like.
No, it looks like Wire, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it was Wire, you're right. That was Wire. Same livery. And that's going to have hurt Alex Albert. It took him a while to get the thing pointed the right way. He'll probably have to hit the pits this time. Tim Wire has, and he's getting some repairs done.
Will be the final stop for these drivers this time now. So yeah, Albert's on the lane, Wire's on the lane. We already saw Otis Adams through.
The battle for third place is getting a little warmer. Christian Peeler now right on the rear bumper of James O'Brien, starting to put some pressure on him. Gets a good run out of the turn number 5 there. 6 at the bottom of the hill. And getting closer and closer. Judging by the pace over the last few laps, he might have something to say about it.
Judging by the pace over the last few laps, Johnny Sartorelli's got something to say about these two. And he's got a pit entry to go for as well.
They might be trying for the undercut. Be curious to see if anyone goes for a second set of fronts here.
Schaefer is, but that's not a full indication of what everyone else is doing.
Well, we'll see what Sartorelli does. He comes up, rolling through a few pit boxes into his, and goes up on the front jacks. Back out on track, Christian Peeler is still right on the rear bumper of James O'Brien. O'Brien gets a little bit wide. Peeler's got another run, but doesn't seem to be interested in using it just yet.
Up the hill maybe, though. He will. To the inside, and the inside's normally the winner here because you've got to hook that little bit of camber right up against the red curb. If you're out wide of that, you're costing yourself way too much speed, and Peeler goes to third at the moment. Also had Davis Trask through the lane, so I think there's a strategy still playing out there for Drivetrain and Motorsports and their guys.
Yeah, Trask coming out of the pit lane now. And that distinctly blue, turquoise, and black, maybe, colors.
So Colin Lounsbury has one more stop to make. He leads the race by 8 seconds over Cameron Martineau, who's had just a few little errors creep in and cost him some time. Peeler and O'Brien, third and fourth there. Simon Foweather is hitting from where he was. But your key drivers for victory remain Lounsbury, Martineau, and then Peeler.
Yeah, Foweather was running an 8th before that stop. We'll see where he comes out.
Peeler up into third place. Simon Foweather out behind Adams by the look of things there, who's got a fair share of traffic. Some cars in front that haven't stopped yet but are on the same lap as him, like Bowie Suin. And Johnny Sartorelli also ahead, having been through the lane here.
Yeah, so a little bit of variety in when drivers are deciding to take this last stop. We got about 17 minutes left in the race. Lounsbury taking his stop.
Yes.
Yeah, that's this is the best strategy, I'm sure, because it's the leader. We'll see how it plays out.
What Martineau does, and Martineau disappeared for a second, but carries on and now back into the race lead until they make their final stop. Pretty important one for Lounsbury right now, as he's not one hand on the trophy, but he's inching towards it.
Well, it'll be a good showing for Martineau as he pulls away from his pit stop. It'll be a good showing for him. 15th last time out, finished 20th. Far cry from the stranglehold he seemed to have on this race with his pace. Martineau will be trying desperately to put in some fast ones here. Lounsbury rejoins. And he's just behind Kyle Robertson on track, who's fourth as the cars run.
So still a handful of drivers we're waiting on or expecting another stop from. The highest running to have made a second stop is Colin Lounsbury, then Sartorelli, then Otis Adams and Simon Foweather, who are working their way through a little bit of traffic here as well.
Yeah, two of them are getting... Oh, Foweather's way wide. He had to gather that one up. I thought he was going to go way off the track.
Still expecting that Martineau will be second after he makes his stop. Now homing in on Bowie Suin, who hasn't made a second stop. Ian Giebler's in the lane for a second stop.
Otis is now trying to make a move. Really holding that inside line. Hard to make it work, though, around here. You really want to make it into this final corner. We'll see if he's got it. He's looking left, looking right, and stays in line in the braking zone. All these shenanigans are getting Foweather closer to the battle, though.
He's trying to squeak to the inside here. But he doesn't have what Bowie Suin has in a straight line, it seems. There's Giebler rejoining the race and will be in this battle with Adams Jr.
Oh!
And Foweather. There you go, a little bit of a lock-up. Solves the problem and the headache for Otis Adams.
Temporarily, at least. Oh, and they're going to be too wide. Otis is going to hold the run, and on the outside goes Simon Foweather, the master of the 2-for-1. Always sneaking around when you least expect it is Simon. And we're seeing that's Christian Peeler hitting the lane now, as well as Cameron Martineau, just ahead. And the two of them are shortly to be passed by Colin Lounsbury, who's got, looks like Kyle Robertson diving out of the way for him. Maybe not quite diving, but definitely taking the inside line. Either way, Martineau rolls away, and he's going to have a solid 10 seconds. Ooh, Martineau even has to take a little bit of evasive action around J.R. Cabrera. I think Cabrera forgot how to turn off the pit lane speed limiter there.
Yeah, that's not ideal. It's a very long pit exit here, obviously over the hill, around the inside of the hairpin. Martineau comes back out, and he's about 10 seconds behind Colin Lounsbury at the moment, but still ahead of Sartorelli, Peeler, Giebler, some of the other drivers that he'd need to be worried about. Still might need to worry about James O'Brien.
It's been a good little battle pack just sitting here at the back of the top 10. Simon Foweather involved in that. He just took a spot past the lap car there, actually. That was Scott Grinnell behind. But just behind Grinnell, we've got Jean Sirota, who's making the move up the inside now, and Bowie Suin hot on his heels. And so what was 2 battles of 2 between Otis Foweather and Suin, and is going to be soon 4. A 4-way battle here. And that's that looks like Peeler? Nope, not Peeler. O'Brien in the pit lane.
People are gonna wonder about your literacy at some point.
I just spend too much time looking at all the cool cars driving around on the track to look at that timing screen, you know. Big smoke show there from Peeler, or Brian rather, as he drives away.
I think it says it on the screen, man. Like, I think it says right next to him, there's Robertson coming out of the lane as well. I think there is something to that that burnout in first gear out of the pit box. Actually saves you some time, saves you from bogging down. Here's Bowie Suin and Scott Grinnell in as well here, leaving us with just Logan Senhauser and Orlando Harrell, who haven't stopped a second time. It means Colin Lounsbury leads 9.8 seconds from Cameron Martineau, and then 8 seconds from James O'Brien, who has come through the lane and ended up significantly ahead of the drivers he was battling, Johnny Sartorelli and Christian Peeler.
Interesting there from O'Brien. Stop was shorter, about 3 seconds shorter than the other guys. I wonder if the other guy short-fueled on the first stop or if he just was able to save that much more. Either way, that call has got him a nice little gap. So as the stops shake out, I think our top 10 looks something like Lounsbury, Martineau, O'Brien, Sartorelli, Peeler, Robertson, Giebler, Foweather, Adams, and Sirota. How many Australians you got in there? One less than the number of Canadians, eh?
There's 3-4 Club Canada drivers.
Yeah, I was just talking in the top 10.
Okay.
Peeler's getting up on the rear bumper of Johnny Sartorelli now. We'll see if he can make that move stick up the inside. Not quite available, a little too far back, but it comes back in the second half of the corner. And in fact, Sartorelli pinches a bit, so Peeler has to take the whole sausage curb on the inside.
How many Canadians have won the Bathurst 1000?
Touché.
Pretty much literally just Alan Moffat, I think.
That's one more than I expected.
He might have a few.
Ian Giebler is getting busy on Simon Foweather. Foweather actually got by Giebler in turn number 1, and they were a little bit sideways doing it. We'll see if they decide to get back together again, or if Foweather's going to be able to drive off into the distance on this one.
The big gainers inside of the top 10 at 8 positions gained for Kyle Robertson and 4 positions gained for Simon Foweather. So good races for them at the moment.
Foweather does seem to have a little something here. He's slowly growing that gap. It's now 3-4 car lengths back to Ian Giebler. Ooh, then just as I say that, they both run a little bit wide. Not sure, I guess that must be the racing line out there for how many tire tracks it's got.
Yeah, I don't think it's fully optimal, but it has been popular.
It sounds just about right for a race in a bunch of Clios.
Orlando Harrell's going to be the last driver to stop as he's in now. With 7 minutes 40 left on the clock, and it's in search of his gang there, who look to be wearing jeans.
Always good to give your pit crew a distinctive outfit, for making sure they stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, I want pit crew watch. Boring, boring, boring. Moderately interesting.
I think I saw some Ninja Turtles in there.
Yeah, there are some weird ones. There are some weird overalls out there. So Orlando Herald's back into the race. There's 7 minutes left. Everyone is racing to the end with Colin Lounsbury now leading by 13 seconds. This has not fallen apart for Martineau because he's still snug in second place, but his ability to challenge for the race win looked so strong in the first half of the race, and then just hit a couple of little obstacles that I'm sure he'll be frustrated by.
Yeah, with about 6 minutes left to go, it looks like the biggest questions that remain are between Sartorelli and Peeler, and wow, the two of them are locking them up going into turn number one. As the two of them actually have James O'Brien just ahead too, so if they can keep themselves in line, they might have a shot at the back step of the podium. The other big question in the top 10 is right here. Ooh, it's getting tight between Fairweather and Giebler, with Otis Adams looking for his chance to strike. Sartorelli has, that's Peeler up the inside. They're too wide through 5 off camera. And now they're back in a line as soon as the camera gets on them. We'll see which one gets a better run up the hill. It looks like Peeler's getting a little bit of that draft, but it's hard to make a move work here at the corkscrew. They'll have the cleaner entry though, the wider one. Such a fun flowing part of the track here as you go through 9 and 10. Peeler's going to get the overlap, get enough through 10. He's going to carry the wide line. So much camber here, you can really carry some speed, and Peeler's got the inside, and he's got it all to himself. And I think if he does this right, yeah, he'll hold that spot easily from Sartorelli, who's trying the over-under now.
So why'd you say that? Now it's going to be cross back side by side, crossing the start-finish line with 5 minutes left to go. Sartorelli needs all the speed he can get, but he's got the inside line absolutely where I would want to be. Middle of the road for a double apex left-hander. Is it done? I think it's done. I think he's got it. I think he's held on to that spot and gotten it back.
Tough go there. It's yeah, definitely not a sure thing though. And James O'Brien, meanwhile, is really glad to see those two battling in his rearview mirror. He manages to take about a half second out of the guys behind. Nearly a second, depending on how you look at it. We'll keep our eyes on this one. Before jumping to back a little bit, we've got
Fairweather is getting a couple of car lengths further ahead of this, and it looks like Otis Adams is hitting his stride a little bit in behind Ian Giebler.
Yeah, Otis is starting to put more pressure on. Seems like he realizes we're getting down to the end here. He wants to have his shot at 7th place there.
Giebler definitely looks under pressure. Sartorelli's under pressure from Peeler at the moment, heading down towards the hairpin. Peeler thinks about it. Peeler shows the nose, and he'll shoot down the inside here on Sartorelli. Oh, and they're close. Oh, they're so close. Sartorelli will not give up on this. He's proving to be very, very difficult to pass. Now trying to go around the outside. That doesn't work. Sartorelli holds on, and Christian Peeler's many, many brave attempts have met with return serve on numerous occasions.
Ian Giebler has lost out to Otis Adams. Otis got the job done on the exit of the final turn, passed him down the straightaway, and has overtaken him pretty definitively as they come through 4 out towards 5 here.
Again, up the hill.
Got to be thinking 2 to go.
Peeler's had so many just interesting little ways to try to pass here. Like, oh, who would have thought around the outside of the penultimate corner it looked really good, and then it didn't stick. And then, oh, okay, that's a good dive to the inside of the Andretti hairpin, and then it couldn't stick. And there's not 30 corners around here. There's not 150 corners. It's not the Nordschleifer. He's running out of places to spring a surprise, because everywhere you can pass, he's tried, and everywhere you can't pass, he's also tried and nearly worked. But nearly is the definitive word there.
Yeah, it's tough sledding. It's hard to get by out here at Laguna Seca, and with the two of them entering the second to last lap here, it's got to be top of mind. He's trying to find a spot.
You'll be surprised to know I don't hear many Australians very often say tough sledding.
Not sledding out on the sand dunes that you presumably have?
No, but what do Australians say that's not in the Canadian vocab?
Just about anything, I'd imagine. Ian Giebler is putting some pressure on Otis Adams. Otis is running wide on the exit of 5. And it's going to be too wide going into 5, on the exit of 4 was Otis Adams out in the dirt. And Giebler does the over-under. He's going to have the inside line, it looks like, just about as they go up towards 6. You really want that inside line. Will Giebler get the space? He does. There's a little bit of contact on the exit. The two of them keep it going, though. Giebler, he's got more momentum coming up the hill on the inside of Otis Adams. Will they keep it too wide? Otis has the inside on the entry and takes it away. And that little kink to the right before the left at the top of the hill was critical because it gave Otis the room he needed to close the door.
Colin Lounsbury has started the final lap of the race. He leads 13 seconds at the moment over Cameron Martineau. James O'Brien has managed to break away nicely into this third place here, leaving Sartorelli and Peeler to battle behind. And boy, oh boy, are they battling. Sartorelli with a pretty significant lock-up. Peeler not as close as he once was. A little bit of traffic here for Sartorelli. He will have also seen the white flag and know that he's beginning the final lap of the race. Adams is ahead of Giebler, Bosoon, and Alex Albert. About a second apart, Miles Brown, John Nicholford, Logan Senhauser are also battling through the field, and we've got 30-plus cars still running with positions to be settled and points paying well down into the field, and you never know when you might need a couple. But Colin Lounsbury, he's about done on this victory tour. One more corner for him, qualified on pole, and he stole it by a tiny margin, 100th of a second. It was so back and forth early on, but then he's been mistake-free, he's been worry-free, and he breaks Paul Darling's winning streak to win round 3 of the ChampCar iRacing Series 2024 at Laguna Seca. Martineau and James O'Brien are going to be second and third, but Sartorelli and Peeler have just changed paint in the penultimate corner. Sartorelli stays ahead. Peeler tried to go around the outside, I think, once more. And unless Sartorelli runs out of fuel, Peeler has tried every option and come up short.
Ian Giebler and Otis Adams is nearly finished, with Otis having a few car lengths coming into the final turn. Ian Giebler runs it nicely, runs it wide, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough, and Otis Adams is going to hold on for 8th place at the line. Next battle on track, I think they're all but finished. We're watching John Sirota across the line, Tim Wires getting there into the final corner. Davis Trask is running his way through the final turn as well. He's got Steven Schaefer ahead, but that's a lapped car giving him space, is Schaefer. Bowie Suin's coming down. He and Alex Albert were close at one point, but Bowie managed to break away in the final laps here, and he'll take 14th spot. And Alex Albert will come around one of the final ones on the lap. John Nicholford behind has narrowly gotten ahead of been passed by Miles Brown.
Logan Senhauser is or one of the last there as well. Aaron Reed might, in fact, be the last driver on the lead lap.
Yes, sir.
That's everyone. Colin Lounsbury with the win from Cameron Martineau, James O'Brien, Sartorelli, and Peeler. And Kyle Robertson, Simon Foweather, Otis Adams Jr., Ian Giebler, and Gene Sirota. Tim Wire, Davis Trask, Bowie Sue, and Alex Albert, Miles Brown, John Nicholford, Logan Senhauser, Aaron Reed's last car on the lead lap, Orlando Herald just off the lead lap, and then Steve Hermit's completing the top 20. And then next was Brian Tidd, Andrew Cosick, Brandon West, Stephen Schaefer, Scott Grinnell, Will Nonamaker, Andrew Goetzer, Alan Wells, Bill Salen, J.R. Cabrera, Nick Fogelman, Mark Kruger, David Palermo, and Tim Trahan.
Great race note there today.
Should we interview first and spin the wheel second, or the other way around?
Let's give it a spin if we can, because I think the folks want to hear who won the final prize from last season's Best Be Here Club. That's right. The ChampCar iRacing Series has prizes for not just the fastest drivers out there, but also the most reliable ones. So if you show up for 4 consecutive rounds, that's rounds 1 to 4, rounds 5 to 9, and rounds 10, no, that can't be right, 5 to 8, and 10 to 12, 9 to 12, oh my God, 4 consecutive rounds, you will get entered into a draw for 250 champ bucks applied to your ChampCar account.
English. He teaches them maths.
Luckily, I don't teach them wheel spinning. And we've got a number of drivers that were eligible from the last season who are up for a prize draw. I believe the list includes Josh Soto, Ian Giebler, Davis Trask, Kyle Robertson, Mark Kruger, and Tim Wire. And I think they're all here today. So hopefully they're listening into the broadcast. And we've got them up on our very high-tech wheel-a-majig. And
yeah, so here we go. So for the drivers who did the 4 consecutive final races of last season, you can see the names on the wheel. Spin that wheel. And we're about to find out who's about to bag themselves 200 ChampCar box. It's Kyle Robertson. There we go. We know him and his teammates love to watch along, so they'll be very delighted to hear that he's got a little prize coming his way. Yeah, there you go. He's also racing with us today, so he'll be well pleased with that. Let's move on. Who's standing by, Devin?
I've got James O'Brien, a third place finish there for James. And it looked for a moment like you were going to have a bit of a battle with Johnny Sartorelli and Christian Peeler, but you managed to find an extra gear there in the final stint.
Yeah, I kept looking behind me and just try to stay clean. I knew they were faster than me, but I kind of try to just be consistent all the time and not make any mistakes. And I kind of won out at the end. I saw them battling with each other and just wanted them to keep that up until the end, and it paid off.
Consistency definitely showed out there. What's the secret to driving a Clio fast?
I don't know. I just bought this car before the race started and hoped I could figure it out, and I did, I guess.
Must have been those years and years of iRacing experience, right?
Yeah, I think this is my 15th year on here now.
Well, good stuff, and a good finish for you. I think, if I'm doing my math correct, I think that's your best finish of the season.
Yeah, I was hoping for better at Spa, but all hell let loose on the first turn and kind of just had to recover there. And I missed the first race, I believe. So just trying to get our team some ChampCar bucks, Treasure Coast Miatas, try to help them out with some expenses in the future. So hopefully I can keep this up.
Absolutely. I was going to say, you folks building that car? No, Treasure Coast Miata is already racing.
Oh yeah, they took me on as kind of like a fourth driver, Wes and the team. They've had the cars for probably longer than I could think about even racing in ChampCar. They seem to be like the go-to Miata guys in the Southeast. At least in Florida, I know that people are coming up and asking for parts during the races from Wes and the team. So it's pretty cool. Car's real reliable and not the fastest, but again, consistency pays off with that. Just keeping it on track and not making any mistakes and do pretty well.
Well, good stuff, and I think a good foundation to build on.
Absolutely.
We got the GR86 coming up next at Silverstone, as well as the endurance race. You going to bring out the rest of the Treasure Coast boys for the enduro round?
I don't know if any of them have iRacing. I might find somebody else that wants to help out, though. I'm kind of like the lone duck when it comes to iRacing stuff, but I really enjoy it. Maybe I'll have to just watch that one on the sidelines.
Well, here's hoping you can find a teammate. Great race, great result. Anyone you need to thank tonight?
All the boys there on that team. My other team that I race with on here, Private Label and Ethica, the sponsors that I typically race for on the NASCAR side. But everybody watching, and ChampCar, it's an awesome series. I love racing in it in real life.
Cheers.
Thank you, sir.
Next step up the podium, Cameron Martineau, who was on the front row of the grid, racing right up front. What did I just read happened? You dropped back a little bit.
Oh yeah. Thanks, David. For sure. I caught out of the first stop. You know, I had a few second lead over Colin and got a slowdown there, which put me behind him. And I'd say like a lap or two after that pass that Colin made on me, my game completely froze going over the corkscrew, and all of a sudden I had no sound. So I had to race the entire last half of the race with no sound whatsoever. So it was that was probably one of the hardest 30 minutes of my life. So
I've had that happen once or twice. Yeah, that's not ideal. So yeah, you then just at that point, your mentality shifts to nurse it home for a good result, or what are you doing?
Yeah, at that point it was just keep it on track, try to keep the mistakes down and bring it home. At that point, I was watching the gap between James and I, just seeing, you know, how much time I had there and what my lap times were. At that point, I knew Colin was going to be gone because of how close we were in the first stint. So at that point, it was just managing the mistakes, because without sound, you know, I drive so much on sim with the visual cues, but also the auditory cues are huge, listening to the tires. So without that, you're almost driving without a sense. So yeah, just mentality of bringing it home with a podium result.
First time the Renault Clio has been used in the ChampCar iRacing series. Are you going to be signing up to get your Clio fan club membership card from here on out?
I mean, this car is a hoot to wheel around here. I might dabble a bit here in some official races after this round.
Maybe one day they'll give it some rain tires. We'll see what happens in the future. But it's been a large and competitive field so far this season, and you bag a good result here. Congrats, and some more racing coming up for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. It's a lot of fun, and looking forward to the rest of the season.
Go Cameron Martineau, finishing second place today. He had what it takes to challenge for the win, but obviously he had just a couple of little things not going his way in the end. Things did go the way of the race winner, Devin.
Yeah, I've managed to push my way through the throngs of fans and the cheering love teammates and find myself in front of Colin Lounsbury.
What's going on, guys? What a race. That was fun.
I was reading in your bio halfway through the race, you said you don't have a most memorable race win yet. How's this one feeling?
I think this one takes the cake for that.
A far cry from 20th place in the last race. You're apparently a Clio ringer. Is that what I'm hearing?
It took me a while to get it figured out. I went to school after Cameron kicked all our butts last week in the practice race, and He did a great job keeping up. The first stint of this one had some technical difficulties, and I was able to pull away. But kudos to him for keeping me honest in that first stint and making it a really good race and giving me some motivation to go to school over the weekend after I got my butt kicked last week.
Good stuff. Well, it looked like it was going to be a pretty busy race for you there, but then once things sorted out, it was pretty calm. What were you thinking in that last stint?
Last stint was stay on track and don't get a cut through in the corkscrew. I didn't want to slow down penalty there, so it was kind of just back up the corners a little bit. I tried to save a little bit of fuel because I wasn't sure if I took enough, and it worked out for me and was able to take home the checkered flag.
Well, with that result, I'm thinking that you will be appearing a little bit higher in the points. I got to get them to refresh yet. I haven't gotten it figured out just yet, but definitely going to put yourself closer in contention for the prize. And yeah, sure enough, I've got you in first place in the points over Paul Darling.
I'll take that. It helps when the quick guys are in the field, but I'll take the small wins when I can get them, and hopefully I can stay there for a little bit while longer.
Sounds good. Well, here's hoping you make a good run at the championship. It's good to see you love guys out here all the time. Anyone you need shout out and thank for tonight?
I got a lot of family friends watching from home, a couple guys from work. Want to give Jimmy Jams, the YouTube channel, a shout out, and got some family here in town. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope it was a good show. Thank you guys for hosting as well.
Cheers. Absolutely.
Well, Devin, we're next racing in the ChampCar iRacing series. Just a couple of weeks' time for a team enduro at Daytona International Speedway in the Ford Mustang FR500S. Forum.champcar.org. Post will be up shortly. Get your teammates together. Get practicing the Mustang in Daytona. It's a really great combination of America's speedway and America's muscle for a team enduro that should be both challenging but thrilling. And it's not a season-long commitment. You get you and your buddy together, and you could, in the space of one race, win yourself a nice little prize that gets you closer to being on track with the ChampCar Endurance Series. Did that sound good? Did I hype it well?
I love it. I love it. I'm excited to watch it. You know, the enduros, they always just add a little je ne sais quoi to the race, especially when it's a bunch of Mustangs roaring around Daytona.
It's the best I've ever heard you pronounce anything French, and it really did add that just a little bit of I don't know what. Colin Lounsbury, he takes all of the chocolates from Laguna Seca in round 3 and takes the championship lead over Paul Darling, who had been insurmountable up until this point, and it sets a very interesting stage for the ChampCar iRacing Series season-long prize. But next time we head to Daytona for the Team Enduro. Wrangle your teammates together, get out, win some prizes. We'll see you on Saturday, March 30 for that. Broadcasting live, again, forum.champcar.org. All of the info and details. We'll see you there.